What's up, folks? Welcome to part 10 of how I got drugged at work. So, let's do a brief recap really quickly. We've already gotten past Halloween. I've been to this film festival and back. Uh, I've been added to the committee for fire drills. Like, I'm actually in charge of getting all of the employees in our office again on like the 20th floor out the building. And we did do a fire drill, and I had to anyway, we've gotten past that. And so now we're at the day in question, which was November 12th, 2025. My supervisor has called me into the office. This is the moment when the drugging happens. But before I tell you, let me just again paint the picture for the mood. So at this time, our company has been expanding. I've never worked at a company as a teacher before I moved to LA, at a media company when I first got here, at a production house later on, at a network, at no time, even before the teaching, at a Fortune 500 company. At no point in my employment history have I ever seen an office that had interviews every single day. There was not one day of my employment where there was not an interview. Well, Tyler, how did you know that there was an interview every single day? I'm glad you asked. So, as a Capricorn, I love to know the inner workings of everything. And where I sat in the first, because we had two offices, in the first office, I got to see everything. So I got to see the inner workings of everything. There's so much more to this story, which is why I keep saying it's just the tip of the iceberg, not from hearsay, not from anything, from direct first hand experience and knowledge. And I didn't know this at the time. Obviously, I was not hired to be an investigator or anything. But since I'm sitting here and I'm taking all of this in, here we are. So, anyway, that has gone on. But because I have been the top earner in my department a few times, uh, again, great employees, socially hosting, all of these things. We have this second office now because we're rapidly expanding. And our department, property damage department, was one of, if not the first, one of the first departments to enter the new office space, which means all the offices, all of the seats, everything was up for grabs. And you would think, as not the oldest in age, don't try it, but as the person with the most seniority on the team, meaning I was the person that was hired first of this new group of people here, you would think that my record, all of the things, everyone would be allowed to choose their seat. If not, like times in the past, they would put names in a hat or in the departments. You would put names in a hat, you pull the number or your name or whatever when something needed to be divided fairly. Whatever. Not the case. In this case, I was the only employee who was not allowed to choose their seat. And I didn't understand it at the time. I was so frustrated. Mhm. I was pissed. I don't know if you've ever met me when I'm pissed, but even with being pissed, I'm still showing up. I'm still being pleasant. I'm still being all of the things. And I didn't understand it then, but it makes perfect sense now. The reason why I was not able to choose my seat and the reason why she chose my seat for me was because she got to watch me every single day. Meaning, I mentioned that she had stalked my social media page, but here I am being surveilled, stalked, if you will, non-stop. I don't know how often because my back was to her, but when I say I was in her direct eyesight, meaning this is how she's typing the moment she looks at the door. You see not just a little glimpse of me, you see all of me. You can literally see my computer screen. She probably could see my phone because she used to, and how do I know this? I'm glad you asked. She used to message those of you that work in office spaces, corporate, slightly corporate law, corporate whatever. um y'all probably use this system. I hate it with a passion. It's called Slack. And so my supervisor was so needy's not the word. She was desperate for acknowledgement. She was desperate for acknowledgement because if she messaged you on Slack, you didn't have seconds, or no, you didn't have minutes, you didn't have hours to respond. Even if you're in the middle of work, which 98% of the time we all were in the middle of a negotiation or a file or something, you had seconds to acknowledge her message on Slack, or she was immediately bombarding you with more messages. Why didn't you respond? Did you see my message? Da 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 da. Boom, 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 boom. And with me, again, her being able to literally look over my shoulder. Did you see my message? Why didn't you respond? Are you doing this? Da, da? Like it was very aggressive, abusive, harassment, all of the language that you need to use to describe it. That's what it was. So again, that is the mood. She at any moment was calling me into her office because I'm in her eyesight all the time. And most of the time it was for nothing. As y'all have seen in the story, 90% of the time it was just for her to shoot the shit and talk about nothing. Well, this time though, she's invited me into the office November 12th. I'm sitting there. I still can't believe what I'm about to say. Those of you that know me, this is going to sound so crazy, but everything I'm saying is 100% true. This woman said to me, my assistant, whom I won't name at this moment, she tried the candy, didn't like it. I want your opinion. Now, those of you that know me, entertainment reporter here, entertainment journalist, like giving reviews and opinions, talk show host, all of that is my jam. You want my opinion? I'm giving it whether you want it or not. But since you're asking, okay, cool. So she says to me, close your eyes and don't make a wish, but close your eyes and hand me your hand. She gives me the candy. I eat the candy. I say to her, I don't like the way this tastes. I don't like this. And she was like, oh, well, why don't you try another flavor? Eyes closed a second time. Candy. Ugh, this tastes just like the last one. Like, and I still don't like it. Oh, my bad. I probably chose the same flavor. Let me give you a different flavor. Eyes closed a third time. Oh, this one still tastes disgusting. And you know what? I actually don't like the way it tastes. Please don't give me another. Now, for me to say don't give me another, especially someone who loves snacks, especially at that time, candy, it really was disgusting. Well, when I say this, this woman turns to me and she breaks out into laughter, which turns into hysterical laughter because she shows me that it's edibles. And I know my face was giving a range of emotions and thoughts. When I used to teach high school, the kids used to say to me, why, Mr. Tyson, we hear what you're saying. We hear you. Yes, we'll do the assignment. Yes, we understand. Or if I'm, reviewing the paper and I can't help my facial expressions sometimes. And they would say, you don't have to make the face. Like, okay, reprimand me, but don't make the face. I don't want you to make a face. And so in this instance, though, I know I was making a face of complete shock because two things were going through my mind. One, I swear to you, it felt like time stopped because I was like, wait, did I just did I just get drugged at work? What am I supposed to do? Like, and then my second thought, what trip am I about to be on? Because I didn't have one, I didn't have two, I had three edibles that I did not consent to. What ride am I about to be on at work? Because those of you that know me, I'm not trying to sit here and act like I've never had an edible before. Definitely not what I'm saying. But edibles are not my jam. I'm not an edible consumer uh, on a regular, semi-regular, bi-regular. There's no way to even describe it because I don't do it. When I first moved here, sidebar, 2014, 15, sure, I've had edibles before. And I quickly learned not for me, I almost said my full government name with the second on the end. It's not my jam. Why? Because That ride is a ride you sign up for, and there's no getting off the ride. No matter how bad you want to get off the ride, you got to see that thing through when you're dealing with edibles. That's not for me. So that's what's kind of going through my mind. And as she's hysterically laughing at me, I'm actually immediately taken back to this moment when we had gone out for drinks, when the company law office sent us out for drinks. There was a woman that stopped her on the street, and the woman had mustered up enough courage and strength of whatever to ask for a handout, to ask for whatever it was she was asking for. And my supervisor, laughed in her face. I've never seen a human being treat another human being like that before. I remember telling the one, I'm so sorry, as we're like rushing off because she's laughing in her face. That was the same energy and laughter that I got as I was being drugged by this woman. So she then tells me, you can go back to your seat. I'm now trying to figure out what the rest of my day is going to be like. She tells me, don't say anything to anyone. Who who among us am I supposed to say something to? Because again, I can't say anything to the owners because, again, a video for another day. And I promise that day is coming sooner than later. You're not going to believe that part of this story. But then also, there's no HR. There's one woman there who, and I'm not age shaming, but she doesn't have the experience to handle this. She's barely in the office in the first place. But sending out your hire information, your dismissal information, banking info, she can handle that. This, she can't handle this. I already know she can't. And again, there's one person for this entire two offices now. Who do I tell? So I go back to my seat though. And when I get back to my seat, well, before I tell you what happens at my seat, let me tell you there's so much more to this story because later on, the supervisor begins calling me after hours, which leads to a number of things, including a sexual. You got to stay tuned to finish the rest of the story. It only gets better from here, I promise. And as it relates to going back to my seat, though, I get back to my seat, and not the assistant, but another employee, this woman says to me, stay tuned because there's so much more.